Now, you shouldn't talk about your own family in public. So I won't. So a friend of ours has got an auntie. And at Christmas or at family gatherings, at exactly the same point in her drinking, which is about, we reckon, about nearly 3 glasses of wine or sherries, she can be right in the middle of a conversation and suddenly she just starts singing. It's almost as though something goes click and a button is hit or a switch is thrown at some point in a level of alcohol in her system. And she can be actually saying something quite sensible. She can be going sort of, it goes like this. She can be saying, you know, to her grandmother, she can be saying, and so we decided that what we would do is this time buy the mail order through the... There'll be bluebirds over... And she's away. And it happens like that. It's a phenomenon. It's a neurological thing. It has to be.
Yeah. What that sounds like to me is something is triggering her brain. Suddenly.
Creutzfeldt-Sinatra's disease.
It's like a form of Tourette's.
Yes, it is. It is exactly like that.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Terrible thing.
Terrible.
Sausages! You can't see a documentary about it without laughing, though. My wife's a senior lecturer in education, and we were sitting there, and I'm ashamed, and yet I'm honest enough to say that we were crying with laughter. Sausages! I'm sorry about that. I go, I'm sorry about that. There's nothing I can... Sausages! There's nothing I can do about it. Maybe it's the same. 0800 40 50 60. You're live on Talk Sport. Good morning.
Oh!
You all right? You're still there if you want to go on, line 5.
Moo!
Moo, was it? It sounded more like ooh.
Moo!
That's not a very good cow. In any case, they don't go moo, do they?
Moo!
They go, no, they go... It's more like NG. That's a very good one. That's a good one. Let's all do it. I'll tell you what. That's good. No, I'll tell you what, because we got it coming back at us 7 seconds later, right? Technically, Ash, myself, and you, caller, we could come up with 6 cows at once. If we all moo, then count to...
7 seconds.
No, if we moo and then moo for 2 seconds, count to 5, and then moo again, we'll get 6 cows.
Okay.
Can you do that, caller? Hello? He's listening in delay.
Moo, moo, moo.
No, when I say now.
No.
Moo, moo, moo.
Right, are you ready? Right, here we go. Ready, and...
They spoiled it, man.
What's that?
Well, we couldn't hear it because he was talking over it.
No, he did that very badly.
It's very bad.
Very poor.
Learn.
Very poor reads. Come on. Are we on the 24 break?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Line 6, you're live on Talk Sport. Good morning to you. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Peregrine, I sing for you. I've got 2 legs. I've got 2 legs from my hip to the ground, and when I move they walk around, and when I lift them they climb the stairs, and when I shave them they ain't got hairs. I've got
Poor, very poor. The Japanese samurai say a man has 3 hearts, and this applies to women. The heart that he shows the world, the heart that he shows his family, and the heart that he only shows himself. And they spend an equal amount of time nurturing each of those hearts. 08700 40 50 60. All for it being banned for this reason, and almost now this reason alone. It will mean that we will be spared endless television and radio debates about fox hunting. We will be spared the sanctimonious Dimbleby boys and their lesser lights sitting there pontificating and selecting members of the audience to give us stereotyped views that we have heard trotted out for the last... I haven't heard a single original contribution to this so-called debate for 30 years, apart from this one that I'm making now, which is that I want to ban fox hunting so we don't have any more of it on the radio or the television. With people trotting out the same old nonsense. Simple fact of the matter is, if they didn't enjoy fox hunting, I wouldn't mind it so much as the fact that they enjoy it and make such a carnival of it. When I kill a wasp, I say sorry. If I accidentally squash a fly, I feel rotten for ages, for several minutes. You know, but getting all dressed up and the whole pageant is what people, quite rightly, I think, object to. If you're going to kill something, at least do it with a certain solemnity and a certain sense of grief, for crying out loud. That's again, there are two original contributions to the fox hunting debate in 5 minutes, and those are the two first original contributions to the fox hunting debate I've heard for the last 30 years. Right. Let's take some calls at random. The lunatics are at the gates. I will warn you, if you're new to this show, that in allowing anybody to come to air, we sometimes get some performances. Some of them are good, some of them are indifferent. But if you make a promise, then you've got to stick with it. The lines are solid. We'll rattle through them and see who we've got lined up. Line 1, for example. You're live on Talk Sport. Who's this?
Hello, Tommy.
Hello. Reasonably good performance. I helped keep it brief. Line 2, you're live. Good evening.
G'day, it's Rolf Ray, mate. Tommy Kangaroo dances, spooky Tommy Kangaroo dances, Tommy Kangaroo dances, spooky Tommy Kangaroo dance.
Very poor, actually. That was very poor. I prefer the sort of the slightly manic expressions of fear and confusion which come from the younger element, frankly. To that kind of stars in your eyes performance. Let's go to line 6. Line 6, what he really wanted to say to Paul McCartney was, give me some money.
Right.
Okay? Now, what you really wanted to ask Benny was whether they used to have fantastic parties, the four of them, just the four of them, up in the hotel room after a gig.
Well...
you didn't, did you?
I didn't. It didn't cross my mind.
You wanted to ask him whether ABBA did Four in a Bed, didn't you?
No.
You should be ashamed of yourself if that wasn't on your mind.
This is the other thing I want to put. A couple of weeks ago, or a week ago, a week and a half ago, you had some
Lift
guy...
in the conversation here. Because that's what I do.
Sorry?
Lifting the conversation here I am.
Oh, can I...
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah. You had some... Do you know... I got the dictionary out here. Do you know the meaning of omniscient?
No, but I know the meaning of omniscient.
Omniscient, yeah. What does that mean?
What does the dictionary say?
Well, tell me what you think it means, then I'll tell you if you're right.
All-knowing, my friend.
Mm-hmm. Having total knowledge, knowing everything, having... And
what does the dictionary say?
Same thing.
Oh, right.
Having total knowledge, knowing everything,
Good.
having great knowledge, and omnipresence.
Ask me another word.
Omnipresence.
Open it at any other page and see whether I can guess the word.
I've got to catch you on this one first. Omnipresence.
Sorry?
Omnipresence.
Where's this going? What's this in aid of? I'm bored, really.
No, this is why. This is why I'm going to get you on this one.
Get me on this one.
Omnipresence.
Why?
The fact of presence being everywhere. Well, without those two ingredients, you can't say on your hand and heart whether there's a God or not. Did you know that? You cannot say to me there is a God. I can't say to you there's not, because you'd have to be the all-knowledge. You have to be everywhere.
I don't do things like this. It's like this thing about, it's all this Aquinas stuff and angels on a pinhead. It doesn't prove anything. You can't work out something like whether there's a God. It's not an equation. You're never going to get an aha moment. It's not a Sherlock Holmes mystery, your life, You're never going to get just before the end of the final reel of film a moment that proves nothing. You can prove nothing when it comes to God. Or the meaning of life.
Exactly, because it proves there is no atheist. It proves an atheist there is no such thing.
No, there is such a thing.
There's no such thing.
No, there is such a thing.
No.
No, Sunshine, we're getting semantic here, and I'm bored. I'm very bored now. I was very bored during the ABBA conversation, to be honest with you. And now if you're somebody who believes it's possible to prove anything about spirituality,
Yep.
Then that's very sad.
Why don't you believe in spirituality? You've been to quite a few places.
No, I didn't say I didn't believe in it. I said it's impossible to prove anything about it. You need to pay attention. What do you need to do?
I'm glad you said that, because you had this guy about a week ago, but you sort of really went into him because he said there is a God. You said there's not a God. But you put it there's not.
No.
That's how you put it. There's not.
No, there's not his God.
No.
Yes. No, I know what I said. No, I haven't forgotten anything since 1968.
Right. That's how you put
I
it.
could do you the whole of The Loved One, which is War's greatest novel, and I only read it once.
Yeah, I thought he was quite good though, because he had you on that, and I thought that you sort of glossed him over. You sort of took him away. And
Where are you coming from with all this? Are you some sort of Christian or something?
I believe in Jesus Christ.
Oh, well, why didn't you say so then, you plonker? All this pussyfooting around ABBA and everything, and it turns out that your real thing is that you think that Jesus is going to give you an extra big hug when you eventually shuffle off your mortal coil.
I'll tell you what, though,
No, you're not going to tell me anything. This is my show.
You're not going to tell me anything.
Yeah, I am, you see, because you
Jesus
are...
is more
You know
powerful
he's
than
not.
you.
No, he's not, actually.
He's not?
No, he's not. Because I'm alive and he's dead.
No.
He's dead. He's dead, dead. Yes,
and was raised again 3 days later by God, the Father.
You people are hopeless. Go away now. Go
Goodbye,
on.
Tommy. You know you lost.
Tragic life you live. Look at him. Look. That's all Christians are bothered about, winning.
I'm staying on the line.
That's all Christians are bothered about is winning. That's all you're bothered. You really made yourself look a twit just then.
Have I really? No, you made yourself look really ridiculous.
In what way?
You
Can I tell you, first of all, let me give you an example of someone making themselves ridiculous, right? And this is you.
No, it's you.
Oh, can we do a bit better than this? This is not GCSE radio.
See, you're not winning. You're not
No,
winning.
the point is this. The point is this. If we're going to have a conversation, if you want to have an argument, you don't want to have
a conversation.
I'd rather have an argument.
Let's have an argument then.
Fine, but can we get some ground rules down?
Come on in.
First of all, no hidden agenda.
There is no hidden agenda.
There was to begin with, because you didn't ring up to talk about ABBA. Secondly, all right, can you do a little bit better than, oh no it isn't, oh yes it is?
Okay.
Because I don't do that.
Okay.
That, you really, that's kindergarten stuff. You don't mind me being rude.
Well, you are a kindergarten person to me.
Right, you're gone now, because that's pathetic. I don't do that sort of thing, so don't you do that sort of thing. No, do you not realise how pathetic... Lost what? Lost what?
You've lost the argument.
Do you realise how many Christians are squirming listening to you because
I'm saying what's true. I'm saying what's in my heart.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, it is in your heart.
Don't use that word.
What, Jesus Christ Almighty?
Will you not use that word in...
Jesus God. Jesus H.
Okay, Tommy. Okay.
Jesus H. Christ.
You say he's not real. And
I didn't say anything.
No, listen. You said
I'm not going to listen to you. No, you've got to go now. You're a cheat. You're a liar. You're like Hansi Cronje. Hansi Cronje's my favourite Christian. Yeah. Do you know who Hansi Cronje is?
You call me a liar?
Yes.
You call me a liar?
Yes.
You don't even know who I am.
I know exactly that you lied to get on this show. You lied
to get on the show?
Yeah, you did.
I just phoned in the talk show because you say you allow people to talk.
Oh, you're very boring. I'm sorry, I've got to cut you off now, and the reason for that is because, as I said before, you've got to be interesting. Can we not have anybody who wants to get across a point about, say, Jesus Christ or black people, which is another... You get racists and Christians who often hide behind something innocuous like, I met that bloke from ABBA once in the departure lounge at the airport. I presume he means Heathrow Airport. Like an awful lot of people who live just inside their own tiny little lives, he assumes that there is only one airport. He's never heard of Prestwick or Gatwick, or Cardiff International or Sheffield's version of JFK. The airport. Little fellow, little life, desperate to try and get one over on somebody. If you're a Christian, and there are a lot of decent Christians, well, there are some decent Christians, okay, then I thought the whole point about Christianity was to be kind and generous. You cannot prove there is a God by using proof. You cannot win an argument about faith, about God, about Jesus, about Christ in a formulaic way. It is not a 2 + 2 = 4 situation. But if Christians want to persuade people about the importance of what they believe, it's simply a matter of doing what Kierkegaard, a man who believed fundamentally that fundamental belief in Christianity is an evil thing, what Kierkegaard did was recognise the importance of going and standing next to man in all his fear and conflict, putting your arm around his shoulder, rather than standing opposite him and trying to win an argument. And it's extraordinary that the philosopher who, above all others, flew the flag of atheism, had a kinder and more Christian attitude towards his fellow lost souls than any Christian I've ever come across. Book Sport, line 2, who have we here?
Hi, can I just turn my radio off, because I'm like...
Sure.
Sorry about that.
Not a problem.
Not a hidden agenda, it's of a Christian theme.
Okay.
I think the bloke found out was an absolute prat. And I'm a Christian myself, and I don't think people should try and force it down others' throats.
It's not something you're ever going to be able to prove by sort of saying, what's that thing? Oh, I know. Here's the one. Here's the one that I've read, and this is really sad. It goes like this, right? This is what you say to atheists if you're a Christian, right? To prove that there's a God, right? You say, can you imagine what God might be like? And so the atheist goes, yes. And then you say, can you imagine anything greater than the God which you are imagining? And of course the atheists have to go, no, I can't. They go, so at the moment then, God, who is the greatest, exists, if only in your mind. And since he exists in your mind, he exists. Tragic, isn't it?
I know. It's sad. I mean, ever. It's like...
It's very true. When you go down to the newsagents to get your racing post, and you come back and the dog welcomes you as though you're back from 7 years in a Vietnamese POW camp. You know, whoa, he's back! He's back! He's come back! You come back! I knew you would! I love you! I love you so much! You've only been gone 10 minutes.
If your human race could be like a dog, it'd be unbelievable, wouldn't it?
It would be nice.
It would be lovely.
It would be nice. Maybe we should take dogs as our role models in certain respects, except obviously draw the line at bottom smelling.
That's true.
That's reasonable, isn't it? That's fair enough. Although, whatever.
We're going up to lampposts and sniffing urine above people.
Yeah.
Look at the government funding of the situation.
Oh, for goodness sake. Do you not see the point I'm making? I'm asking you a simple question.
Yeah?
Because all of us can pull ourselves up to the phone and have a yakety-yak about anything. Anything, whether it's what they're doing in Northern Ireland or how terrible it is in Africa or the state of football in England today. I'm asking you what you are actually doing about it in your neck of the woods, in your life, in your neighbourhood. And the answer is Fanny Adams, isn't it?
No, it's not true.
Tell me then.
I play football for a pub team. That's all I can do.
How does that help the youth of today? How does that help junior football?
Well, it helps my son because he plays for his football team.
In other words, you don't do anything, do you?
No, he's seen me from an early age take interest in sport, so he's taken interest himself.
In other words, you don't actively, you haven't constructed any program of development for any youngster, have you? But you still feel it's a good idea to get on the phone, call a radio station and have a general moan about Jeff Hurst and Bobby Charlton.
When he was very young, when he was 6 and 7 and 8, and he was at an age where I had to be on the park to watch it.
It doesn't amount to much, does it, really? I'm more interested in people who do. That's what I'm interested in, people who do it, who get out and do it, who give up their time, who are brave in the face of all the criticism that you get whenever you try to do anything in life. I'm not bothered about the hot air merchants.
Well, explain your point there, then.
I've just explained my point. You just want to talk about it.
No, that's not. No, by debating something, you sometimes get action, don't you?
Cobblers. Absolute cobblers, mate. If you believe that, if you've come as far as you have in life and still believe that debate takes you anywhere, then You're a lost cause.
No,
You should have found out by now.
No, by
long
debating
ago.
things. By debating things.
Nothing comes from debating it. You're going to think that you've made some kind of contribution to something or other because you've had a little yak on the road. Well, let me tell you.
No, that's not true.
Let me tell you, you've done nothing. And this conversation doesn't amount to anything. I'm only interested in people who do. If you do, you're qualified to ask questions and make points. And it would appear that you're not.
Well, where do you get that? Where do you get that opinion?
Because you told us you haven't done anything.
Well,
kick the ball around with your son and asked a couple of lads to come over and would they like to join in. That's nothing, is it? What you need to do...
It's better than nothing, isn't it?
It is not better than nothing. It is nothing themselves. Just because you're older than somebody doesn't mean that you deserve a greater amount of respect. Respect is something that you earn with your intelligence, with your endeavour,
right,
and with your attitude. And I would ask you to just tell us... I'm just talking here. I would ask you to tell us why you think that your intelligence, your endeavour, and your attitude, you personally, requires the respect of 14-year-olds.
Why me personally?
Correct.
What do you mean by that?
Correct.
What do you mean by that, me personally?
I mean, exactly. If you can't do this, then the conversation will have to end. This is a simple one.
Well, you've just turned around to me. Why should a 14-year-old respect me? I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about people.
No, but I am. You're on a show which is about the individual. This show is about the individual. Well,
that's why the Tory government ended up getting beat because they were very individualistic.
Well, where does that come in?
Because you're not talking about individuality.
That's what this show is about. People as individuals, you as an individual, what you're doing with your life, why you are who you are, why you think what you think, if you think anything at all, or whether it's just a series of spontaneous knee-jerk reactions.
No,
to a bunch of No, you can't actually. And if you think you can stop me, it shows that you don't listen to this show very often. Brian, got that?
No, what I'm trying to say...
You just climbed into the ring with the verbal equivalent of Muhammad Ali, pal. And you can't stop me when I'm in full flow, when I'm explaining something to somebody who needs some things explained to them.
Go on, then.
And you do. Big time.
Fair enough.
Huge time.
Go on,
Don't come on the radio and nick airtime to tell young people who are listening, and there are plenty of them, that they're a disgrace.
Hang on, I never said that.
Your generation is a disgrace.
Hang on, I never said that. I never used that word.
Your generation is well, I'm using the words now. Your generation is a disgrace. And the young people of today, by comparison to the generations that have gone before, every single one of them is a knight in shining armour compared to your generation and my generation. The future of this planet is safe with them. It wasn't safe with your generation, who were pussyfooting around all the time with atomic bombs.
Hang on a minute.
That was your generation. What did you do about that atrocity? The fact that we were all living under the shadow of a nuclear holocaust. What did you do about that atrocity?
What year are we talking about?
I'm asking you...
Because the nuclear bomb was invented in the late 1940s, weren't it? So, I mean...
You didn't do anything, did you?
Well, I'm only 34 years of age, so...
44 years of age.
34.
34. Let me ask you...
I'm a young dad.
Whatever. Is that your greatest achievement?
No, it's not. Well, I'm very proud to admit that it is. I'm a responsible father as well.
Let's hear what else you've done.
You know what else I've done?
What else have you done? You've had a child. What else have you done?
I've had a mortgage.
Is that it?
I've got a job.
Is that what you tell the Africans in Ethiopia who are starving in their millions? Is that what you would tell?
Hang on a minute.
Is that why you wait a minute? You wait a minute. Because you're not entitled to any views unless you have discovered for yourself how difficult it is to change anything. You're not entitled to your views about what should change. You're not entitled to any views about who's to blame for things that are wrong until you yourself have tried to change things.
Now you're talking because I have changed, believe it or not. You won't believe I have changed from when I was younger.
No, things, not yourself, things.
Well, myself then. I've changed myself from when I was younger.
Who cares? I'm talking about you rang this station not to celebrate yourself, but to condemn others. To condemn people who you thought had made mistakes, which was reflecting badly on football in Britain. That was your point, right?
Yeah.
And my point is this to you, that you haven't yourself tried to change those things that you think are need changing.
Well, the average working guy in the street doesn't really have much of a say, does he, apart from at the polls? And
It's not a question of a say, pal. You've got this thing about talking. Go and do something. Next time you ring me, I want you to tell me what you've done or tried to do. You will find that it's painful. You will find that people resist your endeavours. You'll find that you get ridiculed. You'll find that you face poison. Trying to do things is the hardest thing in the world. But sitting back, putting your feet on the table and talking about it,
oh, fair enough.
Any mug can do it.
Fair enough, but what have you done then?
I'm not telling other people that they're wrong. You are.
So what are you telling me then?
I'm telling you that you're wrong.
All right.
Yeah, you got that. And what have I done? I've got this show and you're phoning in.
Oh, you told that other guy, you told the other guy who was talking about Christianity and all that he was wrong.
Yeah.
So everyone that has a different opinion to you is wrong.
Have you ever met anybody who wasn't the same?
Not really, no.
Okay. Done you again, haven't I?
No.
Pretty good workout, wasn't it?
No, but at the end of the day, I don't feel that you've done anything wrong to me by talking to me downwards, but you appear that when I speak to you about my opinions, that's wrong.
08700 40 50 60.
They seem to have sort of like a problem with him, in my opinion. They don't seem to... It's like they want him to get knocked out. Everything seems to be...
I wouldn't worry about it if I was you, really. I wouldn't worry about it. There must be more important things to worry about than Greg Rosetsky's treatment by the sports press. Surely. Surely to goodness.
Yeah, but not only that, it's the fans as well. We don't seem to be... But I think we have a problem with him when he...
Who's we? You keep referring to this we.
Me.
Can you exclude me from your we?
Sorry about that.
Can you exclude all my listeners from the we?
Sorry, me.
Ah, you.
Yeah, me, yeah.
But it feels so much better to say we, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just... Yeah, so
I mean, Churchill did that, didn't he? You know, we will fight them on the beaches. Well, he would have done. Well, but as Spike Milligan said, what's all this we?
Yeah, well, can we sort of keep it to what I was talking about?
No. I'm more fascinated by this love that we have of believing that whatever you think...
Can I just give you my opinion on why I think...
Is what everybody else thinks.
I'll just give you my opinion on why...
Our airline charter pilot chappie, that was him. He thought that if he thought something...
You like it, don't you?
Everybody else must think it.
Oh, you liked him, really. I think there was something you saw in him, you liked him. I don't know what it was, but...
I prefer David Beckham.
Yeah. Well, can I just give you my opinion on why? Or don't you
Spike Milligan said, you know, he listened into the radio, and Chamberlain said, I have had no such undertaking from Herr Hitler... So therefore, as of 11 o'clock this morning, we are at war with Germany. And Milligan said, what does he mean, we?
So are you talking to me now, or are you just talking to yourself?
Just trying to keep things ticking over, pal.
So you're not really interested in my opinion? Or you're not really interested in what I was talking about?
I don't think you should be that bothered, really. I really think it's unhealthy to care too much about Greg Rosetsky. He's a millionaire. He doesn't need you worrying about him.
Yeah, I realise that. But I just,
so why bother about it?
Why do we sort of like support Tim Henman and not Greg Rosetsky? Because he's representing...
Well, I don't know if it's true. And who cares?
Well, I feel that his...
Who cares?
I do.
Why?
Why do I care?
Yeah. Why bother?
Because, just because, we've got to support both of them.
Who's we? And
me.
Where's this Godder business come from? Who made you do anything?
Why do we support Tim Henman and not Greg Rosetsky then?
Who's we? You.
Me, yeah, but you know what I'm talking about.
I do not know what you're talking about. Whenever anybody says
me.
You know what I mean, I always know that they either can't express themselves or haven't thought through what they're trying to say.
I'm trying to, but you won't let me. Hello? Are you still there?
You don't know what you're on about, do you?
I do.
No, you don't.
Can I just give you my opinion on why I think we...
Well, if that's what you rang up to say, I have an opinion about this, then say it.
I did say...
No, you didn't. You kept asking, you said, going, why do we, as though you wanted me to tell you. And I don't care.
Right, so that's a waste of time then, isn't it, Billy?
Well, I don't. You can say. I've been good.
But if you don't care, then I'm wasting my time, really.
Well, you don't expect me to care about whether or not the British press support Greg Gruzetsky. How? Well,
But no.
That takes your eye right off the ball. I mean, life is to be lived.
Why do we sort of like? He must have sort of like.
Who's
why
we
do-
again?
I didn't say we, did I?
Yes, you did. You said we. It's definitely
I
your
said
word.
he.
No, you said we.
I said he must feel like why did he sort of like come and want to represent? He must feel like he wants to go back to Canada.
Look, I'm not going to psychoanalyse you, but you want to be liked by everybody, don't you? And you're worried that
Really?
Greg Gruzetsky doesn't like some British people because apparently we haven't been supporting him as much as Tim Henman. Well, don't
No, I
worry
just feel
about
it's hard to away from Tim Henman.
Well, brothers, don't lie awake worrying about it. For God's sake, please, promise me that, whatever you do, that you will not actually spend much more of your life thinking about this. I mean, it's very unhealthy that somebody should have thought something like that out so carefully, especially when the conclusion is so seriously flawed and based on so many assumptions and so many misconceptions. It's definitely time, young man, to look at your diet. Have you eaten many fresh vegetables today? When was the last time you ate a good piece of fruit and some fibre-rich oat cakes? And drink more water during the afternoon. 08700 40 50 60. This time I'm getting we're at Regent's Park and we're watching the penguins and everybody else watching the penguins, and there's about 1,000 of us. Everybody else watching the penguins are St. Trinian schoolgirls. That's what I'm getting. I don't know what you're getting. It's a very potent piece of music. Let's get straight on, shall we? We'll get a line sport for real people on 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport. I was talking education at lunch today with a group of educationalists, and since the gentleman's harking back to the war, it's reminded me that we were talking about the origins of state education in this country. And I'm not going to give you a history lesson here. You may or may not be aware that the way schools are organised in Britain nowadays, and have been organised since the war, is down to a thing called the 1944 Education Act. The Act has remained pretty much unchanged on the statute book. It's been tweaked a little, but it's probably the longest lasting major piece of legislation on the statute book. Why was it passed in 1944, though, is an interesting question, because the coalition government, the war cabinet, obviously approved, concocted and had approved an enormous quantity of legislation from 1940 through to 1945, but very little of what they did attended to Britain's pressing social needs, because obviously the overriding priority until VE Day and DJ Day was to win the war. So you would expect that this was an isolated piece of legislation in that it clearly didn't attend to the business of winning the war. However, if you read the 1944 Education Act, which, as I say, is still in place, and which still governs the way in which our schools function, if you read it, you realise that, in fact, it was part of the war effort. It was a crucial part of the war effort. It came about because the generals reported back to the politicians that the men who were coming forward to serve king and country were inadequate. They were difficult to regiment. They were illiterate, which was a problem, but they were unruly. They didn't know how to take orders. They didn't know how to stand in straight lines. They didn't know how to be quiet until they were spoken to. They didn't know to do exactly as they were told. In other words, they didn't know how to behave like robots. So it was decided to create an educational system that would prepare young men in particular for the country's needs for them to be successful servicemen. Fine, we won the war. We won the war before we actually needed the 1944 Education Act. Politicians in 1944 did not know how long the Second World War was going to last. It could have lasted. It could still be going on now. In which case, of course, the 1944 Education Act and the imprint it was intended to make on the youngsters who went through schools
under its governance would have been valuable, because they would have come out of school ready to go into the army. As it is, we haven't been at war since 1945, not to speak of. Conscription was quickly done away with. National service became something that men undertook if they felt it was their calling, rather than the main requirement for almost all the fit and healthy young men of Britain as soon as they were old enough. But the 1944 Education Act remains, and our schools remain places where youngsters learn, first and foremost, to do as they're told, exactly as they're told, nothing more, nothing less, to order, to stand in straight lines, to behave, to face the front, not to fidget. About time we tinkered with that act all over again. Education around the rest of the world is, I think it's geared towards the needs of the Second World War. 08700 40 50 60 is the telephone number.
And do you believe in God, Tommy?
My belief is all you can believe. I don't believe anybody worth their salt can be anything other than agnostic, because we do not know enough
to
reject or accept. And I don't think we're adequate to the contemplation of the question. So one lives in hope, but not in fear. Even if one does suspect there might be some kind of a God, he, she, or it is not the equivalent of a South American dictator who will condemn you to everlasting torment in some kind of hell if you don't worship it. That's a foul notion which has caused so much heartache and pain, and still is. Still is. But I remember reading a piece by a naturalist who said that they'd come across a tree in Africa which cannot flourish and survive unless it is regularly pruned. But how can this be? Because mankind's only been around with secateurs.
No, it's been browsed by animals.
And it's Charlie Dimmock,
Yeah.
So, well, it turns out that in this same region of Africa there lives a beetle. Now, this beetle, when its young are born, they're vulnerable to predators until they've reached a certain stage of development after they've hatched. So what this beetle does is it climbs the trunk of this tree, goes to the end of one of the lower branches of the tree and lays its eggs. Then it goes to the point where this branch joins the trunk of the tree and ignores a complete circle in the bark of the branch next to where the branch joins the trunk.
Kills it.
And then the mother leaves. Okay. Kills it, but it kills it over exactly the right period of time for the young beetles to hatch on the branch, develop to the point where they're able to fend for themselves, and when they're old enough to look after themselves, the branch dies and falls to the floor, enabling the beetles to flourish, and the tree, because it has been pruned, also to flourish. And this naturalist said, you can do any dance you like with the excellent work that Charles Darwin did. But he said, I think things like that take a bit more explaining.
That is quite fascinating. How that mechanism, a symbiotic relationship has developed.
Yeah, and it could have been the process of evolution could have been survival of the fittest, but I don't know, you like to live in hope, don't you? You like to think somebody worked that one out because they love trees and they love beetles. Listen, delight talking to you, John. Thank you so much for your call. Better press on. This is so full of obvious genuineness. As I said before, look, we are clinging by our fingernails to an enormous lump of cooling granite, spinning through a gigantic, freezing cold void around a star which is set to explode, in the middle of a universe which is so vast that we can only be less than a single microbe, all of us put together. Okay? I'm not getting much at the moment, actually. I think I've got Wendy Craig. She used to be in Butterflies, in a mortarboard and gown. With or without Geoffrey Palmer. No, definitely without. Oh, baby, definitely without. Bloody hell, extremely without. Thank you for mentioning it, Nob. Yeah, playing something cumbersome like a tuba. The little piece of music that we play at the beginning of each hour of the show is a test piece of music that comes from a psychology test. Similar to the ink blot test, what do you see, what does it tell you about you? The word association programs, the counsellor says a word, you say the first thing that comes into your mind once you've heard the word. This is an audio version of that. You hear that piece of music, and then you clear your mind and allow whatever thought or set of images to crowd into your mind, and then you document them with your counsellor, and then you discuss them. So you play it. Play it by all means next time we do it. We'll go to line 2 and say, good morning, you're live on TalkSport. Hello.
I'm going down to Alphabet Street. I'm going down to Alphabet Street.
That's very nice. You've got a fairly good voice. Can you do anything else? Hello? Can you do anything else? And you thought I'd get fed up and put the phone down, and you didn't, you? But I've still got you. I'm going to leave you there unless you want to say something. Are you lonely? Are you frightened? Because we all are. I am. You can ring me any time. We won't mind. Gotta go now. Bye-bye. That was an important piece of social interaction, that. I'm very proud of what I just did. We'll go to line 5. Good morning, you're live on TalkSport.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, Tommy.
Hi.
Listen, I heard you mentioning about that you was trained in psychology.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm just after some answers, actually. I've got my eldest daughter and a friend went out the other night because my eldest daughter had finished with her boyfriend, so a mate took her out to try and cheer her up a bit. I'm sitting at some traffic lights, waiting for the traffic lights to change, and all of a sudden, some moron decides they want to ram a brick through the window screen of the car where my daughter's sitting. Smashed all her face in, and she was in hospital. She had to have, like, brain scans and stuff like that, and she was like, one minute she's like a beautiful girl, the next minute she looks like she's been in the ring with Mike Tyson, you know.
Dear.
And yeah, I just wondered, like, what goes through these sort of people's heads that, you know, I'm just a bit angry at the moment, and I can't get rid of this anger, you know.
Of course you are. You're quite right to be angry, and you're a very, if I may say so, it's a great mark of wisdom that you can identify your emotions.
Yeah. I just want revenge at the moment, but nobody seems to want to...
It's even wiser to recognise that you are all the way, you're a complete individual, you're all the way to being in control.
Yeah.
When you can recognise your emotions, identify them, recognise that they're not you, but that it is a valid emotion that has to be recognised, understood and dealt with.
Yeah.
And you've gone further than that, you've recognised the call to action that this emotion is issuing, which is revenge. And because you recognised it, you're not going to actually take revenge.
No, I'm not.
Although you'd be sorely tempted if the opportunity arose. But
well,
I suspect you're wise enough to know that life does play cruel tricks, and this is obviously one of them.
Yeah. Thanks, anyway.
I am sorry.
Yeah.
I do wish you well. We all do, listening.
Yeah.
Line 6, you're live on TalkSport. Who am I talking to?
Speaking to Roger.
Hello there.
I keep hearing you say, don't worry about things that concern us. But isn't that rather similar to the case in Pompeii, where they kept sort of not worrying about the volcano, and then it just sort of blew up and covered them in ash?
Yes.
There's more and more pressure groups.
That's what I hope happens to you. That's why I'm specifically suggesting you don't worry, because I know that there is a volcano just round the corner from you. Where do you live, by the way?
I live in Bristol.
How many volcanoes have you got in that neck of the woods?
I've got enough to cause a lot of pressure groups to worry about the things that you say not to worry about.
Are you worried about volcanoes, then?
I worry about GM foods, radiation, everything.
I know, that's because you like worrying, but don't make other people worry.
If other people don't get involved, which they already are...
Shoe menders.
Well, they're involved.
You people with your pressure groups, you haven't done anything. You haven't changed anything.
Of course we have.
Rubbish. That's rubbish.
Scientists.
It's pathetic of you to think that without you, everybody else will be evil. That's your arrogance.
The papers feed off of the scientists which have a social conscience. They give the information out and it goes to pressure groups. The reason why you say don't worry is because you've probably got concerns. In other words, you've got concerns that involve money, fundings, advertising, and that's why you say ignore worry, and it's a kind of a lapse ignorance.
Why are you bitter?
I'm bitter. No, I'm not bitter.
Why are you a bitter person? What's happened to you?
I'm a socially concerned person.
Yes, but why are you bitter towards other people?
I'm bitter towards conglomerates, multinational fascism.
We know that, but why?
Because it concerns me, because it alters...
No, but that doesn't answer the question why you're bitter about it,
I am
rather than objective.
The question is that it alters the society around me, therefore it makes me involved and bitter.
I've spoken to you before, and what I remember most of all about you is that you're not very good at having a proper conversation. Now, I am. Now, I'm going to cut you off if you don't have a conversation with me. If you just carry on with this monotone...
I give you answers and you say I'm not
No,
conversing.
there you are, you see. No, you're not doing it now. You didn't respond to what I just said.
What did you just say?
Exactly, you weren't listening. And
you
the problem,
said, am I bitter?
What I said was you don't have a conversation. You lack conversational skills.
No, you say that.
I do, because it's true.
No, it's just your interpretation of a person having a conversation.
But everything that you do, everything that you've done since you've been on air in the last 3 minutes has been an issue.
Well, of course it is.
No, you don't understand. You've issued. You haven't spoken, you haven't conversed, you haven't sought engagement, you don't seek engagement, you're an isolated individual. Is that why you're bitter? Are you isolated?
No. I've introduced an issue.
Are you an isolated person?
No. Why should I be an isolated person? Because I've got a social conscience.
Because you've got a conversational defect.
No, I'm afraid you have.
No, on the contrary. On the contrary, it's my great prowess.
Well, I'm afraid what you're doing is just insinuating that I can't converse, therefore making yourself above me.
It's not an insinuation. I'm not alleging it. I'm not hinting at it.
Well, you
I'm
just claimed
stating it in as clearly as I possibly can.
You just made the claim.
You're not very good at conversing.
Well, you're
confrontational.
Well, of course I am.
And you don't engage.
But I just said this confrontational issue.
The art of confrontation, like sex, is having lots of different approaches.
Well,
and you've only got one.
No, my approach is simple facts and issues. Nothing's conversation.
But you don't have any different dimensions to your way of expressing these concerns.
Because it's a single dimension. If you have a concern...
That's not true.
Well, if you have pain, you express pain. If you have a concern...
There's lots of different types of pain. Have you ever been to the doctor and the doctor said, what type of pain is it?
Yes, but...
And what did you say? There is no such thing as different types of pain? Or did you just say, well, it's a kind of an ache? Or a sharp pain? I
answer the first question first, and I say I have pain.
Yes, but you just said that there's only one type of pain.
No, the pain is pain.
You picked a bad metaphor to illustrate your form of expression.
Well, yeah, you're reinterpreting what I just said. I simply said you said...
Every listening experience involves interpretation. Your problem is you just don't listen, so you don't have to interpret. If you listened, you'd be able to converse better.
But your claim is that I'm not supposed to say... I don't go to a doctor and say I have a particular type. If I say I have pain, then the doctor would say, what sort of pain have you got?
I've got earache at the moment. What sort of a pain is that?
What do you mean, what sort of a pain is that?
Earache.
Well, you've just said that you've got an earache.
Yes. Are you interested in knowing what sort of earache I've got?
If I was a doctor, I might be, yes.
As the person who's talking to me, are you interested in knowing what sort of earache I've got?
Not really.
No, and that's the reason, you see. That's why nobody will listen to you. Kierkegaard said, the only way to change a man's opinion is not to stand opposite him and remonstrate, but to come and stand alongside him, put your arm around his shoulder as a fellow traveller, and see the world as he sees it. And that's why you, dear caller, will never change anybody's mind. But I don't think that's really what you want to do. Like most of us, you're more interested that other people perceive you as some sort of an urban warrior, a hero for the 21st century.
because you're going to make us all worry about things we can't do anything about. Let's go to line 5 and say good morning. You're live on Talk Sport.
I'll tell you what's going on. You're on the radio, you clot.
Oh, right. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, goodness gracious you.
Can't stay. I'll get me coat. Line 3, you're live on Talk Sport. Good evening.
Hello, Tommy. It's Steve Reddard from Liverpool. I've only got one thing to say to you.
A theme show, a theme from a cult TV show I used to do. You knew that?
Yeah, I remember this.
Then the music would fade and we'd do something. We always started the show. Thank you, Steve.
Theme tunes aren't the same, are they?
No! I've got a great album at home, 40 great TV theme tunes, and some of them that go back. Fantastic. Yeah. A lot of people set their cassette recorders if they're going to be on the radio, so they can then play themselves back to themselves over and over again, a conversation, the beginning and the middle and the end of which they already know because they've had it. They were part of it. But they archive it, play it to some of their friends. Very sad. Impeachment.
And it's Stag thing. Fantastic. Cousin Stag thing.
Did you hear the pilot then?
Yes.
That's
where it's very good.
He was
very good indeed.
Massive. You got the nub of it. He'd rung up to complain about the format of the show, which he claimed he understood, but he began his call by thinking he was talking to a phone operator and saying, I'd like to go on air and tell the presenter that the format of the show is appalling. I bet he's already on the air doing it. So he's complaining about a format which he clearly doesn't understand. So I've got him right from the start. I've got him. I mean, it is the most dumb mistake anybody could possibly make. You know, you're kebab, you're dead. But you don't tell someone that straight away. You know, you give them enough rope to completely and utterly garrot themselves, which he went on to do. Bless his cottons. Loved it.
He'll be listening now in the...
Oh, we know that. And is that not why is that in the Mondeo? And he went, when I said, you know, you're driving along here in your Mondeo, he went, Mondeo.
You could hear he was.
Yeah, he was angry.
Very angry. He was off to fly a plane in that state.
I think there should be some kind of a anger test. You know, you should be in a decent emotional state.
Yeah.
Because there was a guy cut me up on the Robin Hood roundabout on Friday night, and he was livid. He was weaving and tooting his horn and flashing his lights and weaving in and out of a
road outrageous.
Yeah.